A plug-in hybrid lets you travel on short and medium distances using electricity, and on longer journeys the internal combustion engine takes over. And the traction battery can also be recharged from an electric socket. Is this the best of both worlds while we're waiting for engineers to solve EV range and infrastructure issues, or maybe it's the worst of both? Especially when the engine in question is a diesel. This is the Mercedes-Benz GLE 350de 4MATIC. Let's see what's it all about. This is a facelifted version of the 4th generation midsize luxury SUV, which until the middle of the 3rd generation was called the ML. It wasn't until after the 3rd generation facelift that it was renamed the GLE to fit the new model nomenclature. The 4th generation saw the introduction of the plug-in hybrid powertrains, which have traction batteries of more than 30 kWh capacity and ranges in excess of 100 km. Plural, because there is a choice of petrol and diesel plug-in hybrids. The changes? 4MATIC all-wheel drive is now standard in Europe. The least powerful petrol engine used to be available with rear-wheel drive only. Gradual electrification has led to the introduction of mild hybrids in the diesel powertrains. If you specify a tow hitch, you can also purchase a towing assistance software update. We're talking not only about assistance in reversing maneuvers with a trailer, but also about features such as route planning, which takes into account a trailer of a preset size and weight. But even if you don't plan to tow trailers with gross vehicle weight of up to 3.5 tons, you can simply put up to 100 kilograms on the tow hitch. Bikes, for example. Other new features include a transparent bonnet view in the off-road mode. This means the front camera view of what the car just drove over is stitched to the view of what's still ahead, giving an illusion of being able to see through the bonnet. Non-PHEV models can be ordered with an off-road technical package, which includes things like ground clearance increase by 30 mm from the standard 215 mm, as well as reinforced bits of drivetrain components and some underbody protection. On the outside we have a new daytime running light design, a new bumper and a new radiator grille. As far as I can tell, this means more grille, less headlights. There are also some new paint colors, new wheel designs, new rear lamps, etc. It's just cosmetic changes. We'll get to the interior cosmetics in a moment. For now, let's look inside the boot. The PHEV's boot capacity is 470 litres in 5-seat configuration and 1865 litres with the rear seats folded. The PHEV has no underfloor storage and no side cubbies where one could stow the repair kit or first aid kit, so the boot of your luxury SUV is littered with those, as well as with up to 3 charging cable bags, one with a 230-volt plug, one with a Type 2 cable, and one with a 3-pin mains plug. And no, you don't have to carry them around, but I'm trying to make a point that car makers still haven't figured out a place for accessories that come with plug-in vehicles. Seats in the second row can somehow be folded from the boot side, somehow because you have to press or pull the button for a bit longer and hope this will do the trick. I'm sure it's explained somewhere in the user guide, but what's wrong with just a pull-to-release lever? This, of course, is a luxury vehicle and therefore seats are electrically operated. This is not some plebeian Mazda after all. The seats can also be raised in a position for third row access, however PHEVs don't get a third row. Instead of optional side steps, which are good for nothing, I'd rather have doors covering the sills. Continuing with the theme of luxury, the seats in the rear can be adjusted not only with the buttons here on the doors, but also using a tablet. As long as the tablet happens to work, because more often than not I saw a message about lost connection. Now, the tablet can also be used to control the multimedia, which will drive the driver crazy, as well as the mood lighting and air conditioning here in the rear. The air conditioning can also be controlled with buttons down here on the center console, but why bother when there's a tablet, right? The armrest also features a wireless charger and 2 USB-C ports, but as a result the cup holders had to be moved to the extended center console, which means that even though you have a tablet for AC controls, you still have to reach out to get your beverage. Up front, the changes are subtle but even more luxurious. First, we have the new steering wheel, which in my opinion is inferior to the old one, because instead of physical buttons we now get touch sensitive ones. Now, many thanks to Mercedes for inviting me to a safe driving course where instructors reminded me how to hold and operate the steering wheel correctly, so as to avoid accidentally brushing those touch sensitive panels, but I still have to take my eyes off the road to know what I'm brushing. Secondly, and I'm not making this up, the sluts in the air vents are now galvanized, not black, as in the pre-facelift model. And the galvanized sluts are, of course, like on the Mercedes-Maybach GLS, but you didn't know that because you haven't seen inside of a Maybach. Neither have I, but I read about it in the press release, and now I can bore other like-minded people who have no social life to speak of. Other than that, no major changes. 2 large displays, a voice assistant that can apparently now also raise and lower the rear blinds, but I haven't managed to get it to do that. There are large cup holders, storage compartment under the armrest is pretty big as well. The glove box is on the smallish side because of the perfumes in there. Now, additional settings to these very comfortable seats can be found in the infotainment, which I think is an overkill. However, having said that, the MBUX infotainment is, in my opinion, much more logical, much more user-friendly than BMW OS 8 point whatever they have right now. Let's start by talking about the diesel PHEV. This powertrain option is offered in several Mercedes models, and I can see why someone might prefer a PHEV with a diesel rather than with a petrol engine. If I have to commute every day several dozen kilometers on the motorway, but the last few kilometers are, say, in a zero emission zone, the PHEV diesel gives me good fuel economy and a clean ride in the city. Mercedes claims that GLE 350DE will do up to 109 kilometers, zero emissions. Under optimum conditions, this is probably achievable, but during the test, the daytime temperature was in the single digit Celsius and dropped to around 0 at night, so the computer showed low 80s electric range. But you can just as well drive in hybrid mode, and then the computer will select the right propulsion mix depending on the location, situation, and possibly the planned route. For example, if after a motorway journey we'll be driving in the city, either the car or you can set the hold charge mode. There is no battery charge mode like on older models, probably due to emissions restrictions. If you want to recharge the traction battery, the car can take 11 kilowatts AC or up to 60 kilowatts DC. The latter is an option, but it will give your 31.2 kilowatt-hour battery a 50% recharge in the time you need to go to the toilet and back. What's the real-life fuel economy? After depleting the energy in the traction battery, I drove for a while using only the internal combustion engine. The average fuel consumption exceeded 5 liters per 100 kilometers, but if I recharged the traction battery every 90 kilometers or so, I'd probably be getting less than 1 liter per 100 kilometers, like Mercedes claims. While in normal driving, there's seldom a need for the internal combustion engine to kick in. When you floor it, the engine will come on, even when the car is set to pure electric mode. This is different than, say, in the Lexus RX, where you can do pedal to the metal in electric mode and even hit VMAX without turning on the petrol engine. 0 to 100 km/h should take 6.9 seconds. The best I got was 7.2 seconds in sport mode. In the dry, the GLE 350DE feels slower than it is, so I don't see a chance to improve this result. Perhaps slow is the wrong word, and I should say relaxed. Even during hard acceleration, the car doesn't feel rough. It may have 340 horsepower and 750 Nm of torque, but the AMG package is purely a styling exercise, and a good one, I may add. I liked how the GLE looked pre-facelift, and I like how it looks now. Even on 21-inch rims, the GLE feels very comfortable and anything but sporty. If you're into sporty ride and handling, the BMW X5 is for you. Also, as usual in Mercedes, the rear suspension feels a bit busy on certain imperfections in the road. It's barely noticeable, much less than in the older Mercedes models, but it's still there, for example, when you hit a sewer cover while making a turn. Also, visibility can be problematic, especially when turning right. The GLE is tall, with a long bonnet and a massive A-pillar, or A-pillars, I should say, plural. And when I approach the intersection and turn right, I have trouble seeing pedestrians, especially children. While I still don't understand why Honda gives us a redundant view from the right-wing mirror on the central display in the CR-V, I think the GLE would benefit from some wide-angle camera view, because this blind spot is an accident waiting to happen. And finally, my diagonal approach test. I stop halfway up this incline with the wheels on the diagonal with limited traction, and then I try to get going again. As expected, the GLE doesn't notice this obstacle even with the traction control off, because, unlike the Lexus RX, in which the rear axle is driven by an electric motor and the front by an internal combustion engine, the Mercedes' 4MATIC all-wheel drive system drives both axles. But because this test unit was not equipped with the off-road tech package and is on regular road tires, I decided against taking it up my more hardcore sand hill, also because I don't have another SUV with a winch to get this beast unstuck. Price of the Mercedes-Benz GLE started €87,435 for the 350DE 4MATIC, which is a grand less than the 2-liter diesel. If you want anything more powerful, you'll have to pay at least €5,000 to €10,000 more. This test car with options costs €115,932.78. Will the PHEV ever pay off? Well, it'll depend on the market, because while in Germany the diesel PHEV is cheaper than the regular diesel, in many markets it's quite a bit more expensive, if at all available. Clearly, you're not buying this car for performance, because the extra weight makes it as slow as the standard 2-liter diesel. Does it solve any real problems? Probably only if your company fleet has some emissions target to meet. Would I want one? Yes, preferably the regular base diesel, as anything else is prohibitively expensive. And how do you like the refreshed Mercedes-Benz GLE? Team diesel, hybrid, or proper 6-cylinder power is your game? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.